Fantastic. Finally, welcome to this webinar. And I must acknowledge those who have been here since five and stayed till this time. Wow. Thank you so much. Technology is wonderful. I'm here in Lagos. I'm connecting with different people from every part of the world. But at the same time, technology can just also just attempt to mess things up. But I'm glad we are here. And we are going to have an awesome time in this class today. I'll be sharing a lot of things that I've never shared before. And trust me, this is one webinar you want to pay very close attention to. Welcome once again. So I need to know if you can hear me well and if you can see my slides. Please confirm that and we will get started immediately. We are already behind schedule, so we're getting started immediately. Let me know in the comment section. Can you hear me? Can you hear my audio? And can you see my slides? It's very important that both that you can see, that you can hear me, and that you can also see my slides. So let me know in the comment section if you can hear me. And I would appreciate that this we make this class very interactive because this is we're learning a lot of things today, and it's going to help our real estate investment journey. So can you see me? Can you hear me? You can see and oh, fantastic. I need those two. That's very important. I confirm that. Fantastic. Welcome. I'm hosting this webinar from Lagos, Nigeria. And of course, the topic is beyond searches. Comprehensive due diligence to avoid getting scammed in Lagos real estate investment. So this webinar is for you if you are investing in real estate in Lagos State and you have a minimum budget of 30 million, whether you have bought a property or you are planning to buy a property, this webinar is for you. So oftentimes people think when you want to buy a property, you should do a search, but there's a lot more to that. And trust me, there are so many stories you would hear today that will blow your mind. But let's get to that. All right. So I'm an instructor in this class and I'm Tosi Omotosho. I'm a real estate and business lawyer of 15 years experience. I'm an author and founder of Charis Legal Practice. Of course, I'm called to the Nigerian bar, and my law firm, we've served over 200 clients with a 4.9 Google rating. And also, I'm a wife and mom of two. And over the course of my experience, and this is why this class is very important, I've negotiated real estate and business transactions worth billions of naira. And trust me, I'm bringing that wealth of experience and knowledge and the wealth of my experience with different people into this webinar so that we can learn and we can really know how do we exactly go about proper due diligence when buying real estate in Lagos. So here is what we would be covering, and yes, it's a packed webinar. First, so we'll learn why a search is not enough, the common scams and pitfalls when buying property in Lagos. What are the common things that likely happens? Why you should not limit your real estate, your due diligence to just a search. What due diligence is, how to then go about it, and of course, we'll be having real life case studies. So fantastic. So of course, I'm a lawyer, and trust me that rules are very important. So here are a few rules to help you get the best of this webinar. The first is that you want to jot. It might be a pen and a paper, it might be your notes or something, but just have something to jot because you would have a lot of details jumping at you as we are going through the webinar. You really don't want to forget. And of course, you would have access to the replay, but it's very important also that you pay attention here because you'll be able to ask me your questions. And fantastic. Now, the second rule will be to keep the comment section spam free, no promotion. So nobody, no promotion of, oh, I do this, you can contact me. Anyone who does that would immediately be removed from the webinar. We keep our interactions polite. And so if, as I go through the slides, you might likely have questions. And here's how we're going to do it. You note your questions, and then when we are done, when it's time for questions, we can then take, or you can then type your questions, and then I can answer everything. So that way, everything I've planned for you in this class, we'll get to it, we'll learn it, and then we'll be able to take questions. So let me know if you can see these rules, if you love them, if you're ready to abide by them. Let me know in the comment section. So drop your best emoji. Let me know how excited you are about this webinar in the comment section. Drop your best emoji. Let me see your excitement to learn, and we will get started right away. So what is due diligence? Now, when we talk about due diligence in real estate, it involves examining a property properly. And what are you examining? The physical condition. financial implications, the legal implications before you complete a transaction. And trust me, due diligence is something that you do often. You might not just maybe call it that name. For instance, your children, you want to take your children to a school, you ask around, you ask a friend, you do your research, you go to the school, you ask questions, you have things in mind that you want from a school that you want your child to go to, and you want to be sure that where you are taking your child to works with what you want. And it's the same thing in real estate. Now real estate is of course very special because it usually involves a lot of money, and it's usually like your livelihood is involved and savings and everything. And it's very peculiar because real estate is governed by law and has so many moving parts to it. So you really don't want to get into trouble when it comes to real estate. And that's why due diligence, asking the right questions, doing the right, taking the right steps is important to help you avoid losing your money to scams. Now, typically, when people want to buy a property in Lagos and even other states of Nigeria, they would say, oh, let's do a search. Now, what does a search report? What is a search report? A search report simply states that this property document is at the registry. So, like this past week, we did like three search report, three due diligence, and that was the first stage. Was okay. This property has a document. Okay, is here at the registry? It is there. Pretty much, that is what um, it contains. That's what it proves, that the document is registered at the registry. The database of that document is at the registry. So typically every state in Nigeria has a lands registry, and all the lands in the states that fall under state lands would be domiciled at that registry. All right. Now, a search report, however, does not prove automatic legal ownership. And I know that a lot of things are running through your mind now. You're like, wow, what? What do you mean to see? Are you right? Let me know in the comment section if you're shocked by this statement, that you are given a document and then you go to the registry and then you find that yes, the that document is at the registry does not mean automatic legal ownership. Why? Because registration does not cure defect in title. And let me tell you a little story about my background. So, for the first 7 years of my practice, I was involved in a lot of real estate litigation in Lagos State. So, I would go to court on the average 3 times a week, and they were often, 90% of them were real estate litigation. And so, in the course of my practice, so there are laws that governs how you prove ownership of title in court. And when I mean title, I mean ownership. Title means ownership, all right? So now the fact that I have a document and I register it at registry, the law is clear. Even when you register a document, the caveat is there that this registration does not cure a defect in title. So it is not enough for you to say, oh, this person has given me a document and I've gone to the registry. And yes, we were able to confirm, oh, the number is number three, volume three, page 2610. And then you go there and then you find it and then you think that you're safe. You will still find out that that is not usually the case. There's still a lot more that you should do. So registration does not cure defects in title. It just shows that there's a document that exists at the registry, and that's why it's not enough. There's a lot more things that you should pay attention to when you are buying a property. The things that you should verify: physical and location verification. You should go to the location of the property. You have to go to where that property is, number one, and not just you. So of course you would go. You are the person who wants to buy a property. You want to see what it looks like. Does it really work with what you want? Okay, okay. But apart from that, you also need a professional to go. In that case, would be a surveyor. This past week, we did due diligence on the property, and when the surveyor went to the site to pick the coordinates, the land was different. The land, physical land, was different from the survey plan that was given to us, that the owner said he has, and that he had supposedly had title to. Very interesting. So they wanted to sell, let me say, land B with documents of land A. I don't know if you get the idea of what I'm trying to say. So if you are doing if you're conducting due diligence and you do not do this physical and location verification, yes, you might be giving documents, but you might be shocked that those documents do not belong to that land. I mean, it happens a lot of times. And I've had conversations with my colleagues, and apparently I'm not the only one seeing it. It happens a lot. So this is one part of the verification that you should not miss. Now, the second and very important is tracing the root of title. And let me explain what I mean by tracing the root of title. Now, you cannot give what you don't have, meaning that I cannot give you this book. This book is mine, but let us say that it is not mine. And let's say it's not even a book. Let's say it's the key to my husband's car. It's not my car. Or no, let's say is the key to is Mr. Ayola Azan is joining us on this session. So let me graciously use you as an example. If I get your car key and then I give it to TS or Mr. Dimeji, you've just bought trouble because in the first place it doesn't belong to me, so it is not mine to give to you. It's the same thing if you're buying a property. You cannot successfully, someone who doesn't have ownership, who doesn't have title, cannot successfully transfer title to you. And that's why we trace the root of title. And like I said, we are going to go to real life case studies and you would really understand this better. But this past week, we had an interesting case where, yes, there was a search. We did a search. The document was at the registry. But because I am a lawyer and I am trained to identify root of title, I'm trying to trace the root of title and see which one is defective, which one was is not defective. We could see clearly that it was the root of title was defective, and anybody who bought that land, it's just a matter of time they will run into trouble. It's not a cause, it's just what it is. They will successfully have just bought nothing because the root of title was defective. So let's say if, for instance, you are buying property from someone who doesn't have ownership or whose ownership has any legal issues, you would inherit all those issues alongside with that property. And that's why tracing the root of title is key. Not just checking to say, oh, this document is as registry. What's inside that document? Is that document fit and proper to pass ownership? Under the law, is it recognized to pass ownership? Do you understand? So it's very important. If you are any due diligence you are doing and there's no tracing of root of title, oh God, you're taking the biggest risk that you could ever take. All right. Now, number three is reviewing the title document of the property. Reviewing the title document. So this person wants to sell to you, and they say that they have ownership. What's the proof? And typically, except you're buying from maybe the families. I mean, families that that hold under native law and custom. All right, there will be some form of documentation or the other on that property. There will be some form of documentation, but you have to interpret it. What does it say? Like for instance, this same like in fact, I had so many interesting cases this last week in our office, due diligence that we conducted. So a certain, and it still boils down to what I said. So a certain family, I do not want to mention their name, has ownership of a property. Yes, so we traced the root of title. We did the search report, and it's recognized in that area. They are the ones who under native law and custom own the property, and they had even gone ahead to apply for a CFO. However, the person who wanted to sell that land to my client could not prove their link with the family. So it's just like I just go on a plot of land and I tell you, come and buy this land. I have the authority to sell. I'm selling it in my capacity, not like I'm selling for for the family. You know, it's a different case. If you meet an agent who says, "Oh, I'm selling for this family," so it's actually the family that will transfer ownership to you. That wasn't there. The link was broken. All they had was a letter, and a letter does not confer ownership of property. All right. So that's why review whatever title document has to be an integral part of any type of due diligence you want to do on any property. If you're not getting a property lawyer to review it, you're going to get into trouble. And trust me, so I know you might be wondering, why is Tosin mentioning getting into a lot of trouble, getting into a lot of trouble? So I have my background as a litigation lawyer means that when I am working with my clients, I like to adopt a proactive approach. I would rather prevent you from entering some troubles than you entering the trouble and then we're looking for how to resolve it, and then you have to go to court, your money is hanging, and you know it's messy. I've seen people lose their lives. I've seen people lose their families. I've seen people get into really precarious situations that I would never wish for anyone because they went ahead with a property deal that was bad, and then they lost their money. So trust me, it's something that I do not joke with at all. And like I tell my clients, if I issue you a due diligence report and I tell you to buy a property, it means I can go ahead and take my own money and buy. So I will not advise anyone in my capacity as a lawyer to buy a property that I myself cannot take my hard-earned money to buy. So these things are very, very crucial and very, very important. All right. That's number three. Number four is you need to conduct investigation. Whatever due diligence you're doing and you're not doing any form of investigation, everything they tell you, you just take it hook, line, and sinker is risky. You need to conduct investigation. The investigations will differ depending on the type of transaction and what you want to buy. But you have, in fact, I usually call this due diligence stage the FBI stage is a detective stage where you are gathering information, you are doing the necessary verification just to watch your back and make sure that you're putting your money into good use. It's very important. Now, we also have, depending on the type of transaction, like I said, we have transaction specific due diligence. So, if for instance, whilst you want to buy a property, for instance, and then you discover that the other, apart from the search and all this tracing route of title, physical verification, and everything I've talked about, there are certain things. For instance, maybe you're buying a property and maybe the property is being sold by a company. You also, the investigation would involve the Corporate Affairs Commission. You know, if for instance the property involves maybe a will, maybe it's a property that is inherited, and maybe they have a will, you want to do an investigation at the probate registry. In fact, sometimes you have to go to court, because sometimes when we are tracing the root of title, we see that there's a judgment, and if someone is relying on saying that yes, we own this property and our ownership is affirmed in a court judgment, we want to really see that judgment, because you really don't want to take risk. So you want to see that judgment. We will then go to the registry and apply to get a CTC of that judgment to see, okay, this thing that this person said, that the seller said, is it important? Sometimes you will need to also correspond with the parties, with the seller, or even sometimes it could be the seller's predecessor in title. That's the person who sold to the seller. So you see, the due diligence stage is comprehensive. It is comprehensive. Any other information. So typically, when we are given a brief, for instance, to conduct due diligence, we have some certain documents that would ask. We have some certain checklists. Send you a checklist. Oh, this is what we need. This is what we need. And then you send this, when we go through it, you might need some other information. It might be information that would ask you to ask the seller, and also information that would verify by ourselves. But the important thing is to ensure that your purchase is safe, that you're purchasing a property that is safe. And by safe, what I mean is that if you buy that property and there's any legal issue, you can go to court and you know that you have evidence that will back you up, and that you have you're very likely to win the case. But there are some cases on the face of it that, as a lawyer myself, when I see it, I see the statements of claim, I see what you're asking and the evidence you have put to back up your case. I know that it's very likely that you will lose. We don't want that to be the case. So it doesn't mean that automatically once you buy the property there might be no issues. But if there are issues, can you have evidence that will back you up, and that you know that if you go to court you get judgment? That's the aim. So it has to be a safe purchase. All right. Now it's very important, if you're also purchasing a property that is building approval. I cannot overflow this, and we've seen a lot of things happen in Lagos State recently. So this is one thing that we don't joke with. The person, the house has to have a building approval, or is in advanced stage. Is in advanced stage, which we would check because anybody can say, "Oh, I've applied for something," and then give you documents that look very funny. We have to verify it, and even at the point of you doing the documentation, we have to put that into consideration. Thankfully, Lagos State has extended the time within which you can apply for building approval. So if you have a property that didn't have a building approval, you can always apply. So you can reach out to us if you want us to help out with that. But this building approval is very important. And if you have a building that you are living in, or you've bought a building that has a roof, you can apply, and they won't fine you. I think it's been extended to October. Okay, so it's very important. Comprehensive due diligence when you are buying a house has to involve this, to avoid stories that touch. Okay, let me know how the session is. I hope this is helpful and you're learning something new. Now, the seventh thing that a comprehensive due diligence has to establish is you have to be able to confirm the identity of the owner, because we can have a situation where someone gets documents and then but they're not the owner and they want to sell. So this due diligence has to cover this person selling to me. Who is this person, and how is this person to this property? Okay, who is this person? How is this person to this property? What's the legal authority that this person has over this property? Very, very important. All right, so you can see now that a search is just the preliminary stage of legal due diligence. So if you are doing just a search, you are exposing yourself to a lot of danger. And I will get to real life case studies so you know that this is not just something I'm saying, this is something that I have seen. It's just the preliminary stage. And these are the common things that I've seen in Lagos. I've seen people buy a property from the wrong owner. I remember a lady reached out to me and said, I want to buy this property. And so okay, was it okay? It's even more than one case, of course. I have quite a number of cases that I've handled. So this lady was going to buy a property, and when she reached out to me, reached out to us, and of course we sent her the checklist. We discovered even before we even started the person who sent, because I would usually insist on an offer letter or the identity so we can marry it, because sometimes people send you documents but they are not related at all. You'll be shocked at the things that happens. They're not in any way related to that property. So when we later discovered, when we investigated, that it was the mother was the owner of the house, but she had passed, and one of the child wanted to sell, and she had siblings. And so this is a typical thing that could happen if she had gone ahead to buy. The siblings could come and say, "Oh, you can't sell this property; it belongs to a mother." And there was no letter of administration to say, "Oh, you are." We everybody who is entitled to the deceased mom's estate have applied for a letter of administration, and this is the person is an executor, is given authority to sell that property. So you see, but I've seen instances like that, buying a property from the wrong owner. I've seen an instance where someone wanted to sell a property. This way, it wasn't even related at all, and he wanted to sell the land as his, not as an agent. It's a different case if I meet you and I say I want to sell this property to you, but I'm acting as an agent. It doesn't belong to me. It belongs to this person. I'm just the go between. I mean, I want to sell a land that does not belong to me in my capacity, like it belongs to me. These are some of the things I've seen. You could also buy a property that has encumbrances. Encumbrances are legal issues, and they could be of various kinds, and it's not usually worth it. You could buy a property that the documents you have don't apply to. Yeah, I think I've talked about that, and I'll still share a real life case study. So let me just leave this at that. I know you are shocked. You go back to the wrong person and then you don't own the property. Yes, I've seen this too. You could also buy a property that is built in the wrong place. You don't have the necessary building approval, and the government could demolish it. If you're familiar with what has been happening in Lagos State, this has happened a lot. Although I've been told, I've rather seen on social media, and some people say, oh, they actually applied for a building approval and their properties were demolished. And I think that if that is true, they should approach the court to get judge to get compensation, because you cannot it's the governor doesn't own the land. And let me quickly do a short diversion there. So people have this mentality that the land use act, the governor owns the land. The governor doesn't own, the governor holds in trust. So holding a property in trust is different from owning the property in trust. And the land use act specifically provides for how property can be acquired. So everything that the government has to do has to follow the law, and if you don't follow the law, of course, you can always challenge it in court. All right. So you could also buy a land. You could buy a property, or you can even buy land that's been acquired by the government. That happens a lot. As I had a client who had built on a land, and it was after then she now knew about all this due diligence, and then she reached out to me. And when we engage a surveyor to go to the site and pick the coordinates, and we discovered that the land is government acquisition. It was acquired for something, a military school or something. I couldn't send the written report just to her like that. I had to call her first, because it's not good news at all. It's not good news, and I wish she had actually done that due diligence before building on the property. But it's so sad. It's so sad. And all this and more can be avoided if you do comprehensive due diligence, not just a search. Not just, oh, take this document and search for me at the registry. Does it exist? Okay. Now we're getting to an interesting part of this, and today here I'll be sharing real life case studies, clients that we work with, what each person wanted to buy, what we did, and what we discovered. All right, but I really need to know how this session is going. Are you learning? Let me know in the comment section. The comment section looks very quiet, so let me know in the comment section how is the this webinar going. I need feedback, at least from 3 people, and then we'll proceed. So let me see your feedback in the comments section. Okay, all right. Yeah, I can see 3. Okay, okay, fantastic. Trust me, if you think that you have learned anything, these real life case studies would even you will learn a lot. So I want you to actually make sure that you pay attention. So the first is Mrs. O. Of course, I'm not using their real names because they are my clients, and confidentiality is very key. So we'll just leave it at the initial. So this our client was going to buy an off-plan property, and so an off-plan property means that I so we have a building plan. This is what we want to build. It's a terrace. For it's not been built, but we have a plan, and then we sell the idea of the plan to you, and then you key into it. Would have documents. Would state out everything how we are going to be how you're going to be making payments. So it's usually, of course, instrumental payments and then milestones that will be reached as the building is being built. So basically, that's what an off-plan arrangement is. Now, what she wanted to buy was she was buying an off-plan development of someone who had bought from a developer. So there is the developer, then there is this let's call him chief. He's not a chief, but let's call him chief, who had the off-plan arrangement with the company, but the building was not yet completed. And then she, our client, Mrs. O, was buying from chief. So you can see, you can see, yes, what the transaction looks like. So the first thing, of course, that we did was to get a surveyor to go to the location because we usually want to verify. So we're given a bunch of documents. Very interesting. We had to read through everything. We're given a bunch of documents as proof that the chief owned the property and he had an off-plan arrangement with the company. And then, of course, the location. So the surveyor went to the location. Then we took those documents that were given, went to do a search at the registry. And then because that company, you remember it's a company that is the developer who had an agreement with Chief. So we had to do a search on that company, CSC search. Then we also had to write the developer. Now, here's the interesting thing. All the documents that we were given, that we were told to check at the registry, well, they were at the registry, but they did not prove that this developer actually owns that land. We remember I said we wrote the company. We wrote the company and we wrote, well, you write company ABC and XYZ response, and they cannot give any coherent reason why a company is responding for another. And let me expatiate. So in law, a company is a legal entity, meaning that the company is separate from its owners. It's like two human beings, they are different. So two companies are different. You cannot mix them together. The only way that maybe a company could be related to each other is maybe they're a group of company or they are under any form of arrangement that is recognized under the Companies and Allied Matters Act that governs companies. Very interesting. It was a very interesting thing. So okay, he's here. So it was another company that replied and said, "Oh, we're actually a developer," but the letter that this man had, he had an offer letter. He actually didn't. He could not provide any solid agreement between him and that company. So all he had was an offer letter. And when we wrote to that company that gave him an offer letter, it was another company that replied, which was, of course, that was a red flag. They said that they were related to the company, but there was no legal proof. Remember that whatever you're told, you also have to verify. And there's something called proper parties to a transaction. So if Chief is claiming ownership of a property from ABC, then we should continue to relate with ABC. But if company ABC is saying no, we're no longer ABC, and it's not like maybe they changed their name on if they change their name, we would see that when we did the search. It's not like they changed their name or maybe change their name basically. So it is the proper parties to a contract under the law that can go ahead with the contract. The company that replied is in no way related to related to the land. The documents that were given that we did a search report on, although they were at the registry, they did not provide proof that that developer actually owned the land. We wrote the developer, they could not provide any proof. All right. And we could not even get the extent of the off-plan arrangement with the seller. Remember that our client wanted to take off the off-plan arrangement. So we needed to know, okay, the property is 50 million. The initial arrangement between the developer and chief who wanted to sell to our clients was 50 million. I'm just using as an example. We could not ascertain. So how much has been paid? How much is left? When will the building be delivered? What exactly are you getting? What units? These questions, because you're going into a transaction that is already underway, and you really don't know where the person you are buying the person who is selling to you, you don't know what extent they had gone to. So it was quite a very dicey one, you see. It was quite a very dicey situation. And interestingly, while we were doing this and we wrote the company and they answered us and they could not give us what's it called, they could not give us information that could really prove that this transaction is safe to go ahead. The seller reached out to my client and said, "Oh, the property has been bought." And my client was shocked because typically when we are doing due diligence, we would do a report and then would explain to you this is what we found. And my client was like, "Someone is going to buy this property when it's like walking into a dark room." And you know what happens when you walk into a dark room, there's no light, you could hit your leg, animals could be there, anything could be there. It's typically like walking into a mine because you don't even know the extent of the transaction. You are taking off a transaction, you don't know what the previous parties exactly have gotten to, what they have agreed to, and everything. Very interesting thing. That's one. And of course, definitely, we're not going to even advise our clients about that property except we're able to prove they could provide sufficient proof of ownership of that land they were building, and then they could also tell us the exact extent of the transaction with the chief who wanted to sell to our client. Because it would be risky. It's like walking into what you don't know. So you see how due diligence can be very helpful, and not just a search report, because they produced documents and the documents were at the registry, but they had nothing to do with that property. All right, so this is another interesting case. And yes, although this one ended well, so Mr. and Mrs. R, of course, not not real names, and they were buying a built property, so they were buying a house. And so, of course, like I said, we're given some documents, which we had to, of course, verify at the registry, do the search. Yes, we saw that the documents existed. We did a physical location. So the physical location verification will be to be sure that that land and the documents match each other, and that they're not using documents for parcel A to sell parcel B or even parcel Z. All right. And of course, tracing the root of title, because typically title would have passed the property, the land. So the land was originally owned by a certain family under native law and custom, although they had some issues. Their land was taken back, then it was excised back to them. We have to check all that. It was in a gazette because there's an excision, it should be in a gazette. So we got the copy. All these things I'm saying, we got the copies from the right authorities. So we could trace the root of title, and then the first person who bought it from the family then sold to one person who now sold to the developer who was selling to our client. So it's about four stages, yeah, 4 stages of ownership. Also, we requested for the building approval. So in this case, the building approval, they had started with the building approval, but it wasn't complete. And we also had to correspond with the seller. We had to actually get on a call up with the seller to confirm that is he really the owner and the identity. All right. So yes, we're able to establish the root of title. However, the seller, that's the developer, had not yet registered their title, and then the building approval was in progress. Yes, the building approval was in process, so it had been applied for, but it was in process. I don't want to skip this slide. Yes. So when we did our report, so in some instances, when you do due diligence, even though there are little issues, there are some issues that can be rectified. There are some that cannot be rectified. So would also offer our legal advice to say, yes, this is what we find. These are the proof. This is the evidence of what we found, and this is what you should do. So in this instance, we had to put into conditions because the bidding approval was underway and because the developer had not yet registered the title, so that our clients will not have any issues with when they want to register their own title later. So we have to put in those 2 conditions for our clients in their due diligence report. All right, yes. So let's go to Mr. O. Okay, so Mr. O is the one, yes, bought the commercial property. This was quite um some years back. He was buying a commercial property and it was a shopping mall. He was buying a what's it called, a unit or two, I think, in a shopping mall, and we're giving to some documents. And of course, we did all the necessary things that I wrote here: the physical location, the registry, tracing the route of title, building approval. And then, so we discovered that there was a mortgage on that property. And of course, we told our clients and said, there's a mortgage on this property. So the client told the person who wanted to sell. And the person says, oh, we've actually paid off the mortgage, but we have not registered the deed of release. So typically, when you get a mortgage, the bank would register that mortgage on that property at the registry. All right. Now, when you then finish paying up your loan, they would sign the deed of release, but of course, they won't be the ones to go and register it. At that time, you'll be the one to register. So they gave us the deed of release, but what we also did to confirm, because you never can be too careful, was to also write to the bank. So we wrote to the legal department, yes, of the bank, quoted the transaction, the parties, and said we'd like to confirm that yes, this particular property, the loan has been paid, and then the bank confirmed it on record. Of course, so we could tell our clients and say, okay, go ahead based on what we found, because everything else checked out. Yes, so you see, it's not all properties that are bad, just that but I must say that quite a number of properties in Lagos, from our findings, based on the statistics of the ones we've worked in, they usually have issues. Yes, so this is Mr. O. This is Mr. O who was buying a land. And of course, we did this. So we did the physical location verification, go to the site, get a surveyor to also go and pick the coordinates and check. We did the registry, the land registry search, tracing the route of title. And here is what we found. Okay, because it was land, so we didn't do the building approval thing because, of course, it was land. The documents did not tally with the land. Very interesting. And then the route of title was defective. So let me give an example. The He wanted to buy from um, this person. Let's say it's this person our client wanted to buy from. This person bought from this person. Then this person bought from this company. Now, this company, in their documents, in their recital, so there's something called the recital, stated that they got ownership from a certain document that was at the registry. So we applied to see that document at the registry. And trust me, if they go to court today with that document, it's so sure that they will lose that case, because that document does not prove ownership of title. Remember what I said about the fact that you register a document does not cure a defect in title. All right, it's right, it's law. The court has ruled in several cases about that, and that's why it's not just about registration; it's about the root. If the root is faulty, every other person who is getting ownership from that person, they would inherit it. And then to even put what how do they say this now, to crown it all, the land was even falls within government acquisition. So it was a very very bad deal. In fact, by the time we sent the report to the client was like, wow, I would have just lost 30 million, like that. And so you see here, if these are just a few examples of how we have helped our clients save millions of naira. Trust me, if you're going into real estate in Lagos and you don't do all these necessary things, the likelihood that you will lose your money is very high. So you see, do you think that comprehensive due diligence is more important than a search report? Let me know in the comment section. What do you think? If you think a search report is okay, just type search. But if you think comprehensive due diligence is the most important, type in due diligence and let me see. All right. And of course, we offer the services for in our law firm at Charis Legal Practice. It's part of the services that we offer. But it's not for every real estate owner. It's for the sophisticated real estate owner who has worked hard for his or her money and who cannot play with the money, like cannot afford to lose their hard-earned money to scams. Fantastic. I can see the comment section that we agree that it has to be comprehensive and not just a search report. So we offer it, and of course, we do not offer it for just every type of property. And I'm sure that before you registered for this session, you would have seen it that We offer our due diligence services for now in Lagos, Osun, Ogun, and Oyo State, and the properties must be worth a minimum of 20 million naira. All right. So, and here's what it covers: everything I've talked about today, conducting thorough title investigations, because it's very important. You want to be sure that title is very key. Title is ownership, like I said earlier. You want to ensure you're buying from the right person. You're buying from someone who has legal authority to sell. Because I cannot give what you don't have. Would also engage a surveyor. So it's not just work done by a lawyer. It's work done by a team of lawyers and surveyors to confirm the property locations, matches the description on the documents, and will meticulously read everything. So we read everything. Sometimes we have to read as much as 30 pages, 40 pages, 50 pages, but we have to read it. You know, the thing about documentation, when you go to court and you have a document and then you have someone saying orally that actually, although this is what is in the document, so or this is what I meant, the court will not take you serious, because documents are construed strictly as they are. So a document is interpreted strictly as it is. You're not allowed to come and orally say, oh yes, so though I'm presenting this document in court, but actually this is what I meant when I wanted to write it. So documentation is very critical, is very key. All right. But also trace the root of title. Because you could do everything right, but the root of title might be wrong. And that could just mean that your money is going, your money not go. And of course, yeah, so we'll give you clear explanation. You typically get a due diligence report, clear explanation and strategy so you can navigate potential concerns. And typically, if there's any other due diligence step that we need to take, like I talked about, you need to go to the court, you need to get to CAC, you need to write some people. We'll do everything necessary typically for the due diligence, for our due diligence service. And it takes typically 3 to 5 working days. So sometimes it could be less, sometimes it could be more. Remember that due diligence in each case would differ. We might have to do some more things, and that might take a while. But typically, it's 3 to 5 days, and you get a report. And trust me, our report is comprehensive. And I'm very glad, because most times we send a report, we tell our client to book a call and let's explain to you. But they'll say, "Oh, I understand what you wrote." I mean, can't be working so hard for your money and then you pay us and then we're writing something that sounds like a thesis, a PhD, a PhD thesis. It should be something you should understand and you should easily be able to know, oh, okay, I've read this reports, this is what they found out, these are the issues, this is how I can tackle it, and this is what I should do next. All right. And our due diligence package, like I said, is not for everyone, it's for the sophisticated real estate investor, and it starts from 700,000. Yes, I have a review here. Okay, okay. Yes, starts from 700,000 for a due diligence report on a property. And of course, so when should you get a due diligence done on a property? Ideally, it should be before you buy. Okay, it should be before you buy. But we've had instances where people have bought property and they've engaged our services. So you can have an idea of where you stand and what you should do. It's very important. Of course, it's better to be proactive, but if you've already bought it, it doesn't hurt it doesn't hurt to find out if you're safe. Okay, so I'll have my team drop the link in the comments section. So drop the link to our due diligence service, and pretty much it's easy to book our services regardless of wherever you are, as long as it's for property in those states that I mentioned, in Lagos, in Ogun, and in Osun and Oyo states. Although for now we are basically doing most in Lagos state. So once you click that link, it will um, take you to fill a form. So you fill the form and then we'll reach out to you, get all the necessary details that we need, and send you an invoice, and you get started. So we are getting to questions, and if you have questions, drop them in the comment section. So where is the link, please? Uh, Miss Salome, the link to the due diligence service. Okay, here's one question. Let me show it. Okay, yes, I'll get to that question shortly. Any other question, please drop the question so that I can answer. Is Miss Salome here? Post the link to the due diligence service. Okay, so Mr. Olawale, let me ask your question. How do you confirm if a property is used as a loan collateral? Yes, when you actually do a search, so if the loan collateral is from the bank, banks would typically they will register it. So when you get to the when you do the search report, you would be able to find that they'll register it. Remember, I talked about a certain case where I said that there was a mortgage. All right, so there was a mortgage on the property, and we told our client who, and then the who told the what's it called, the seller, and the seller said yes, there's actually a mortgage, but I've not registered the deed of release. So we then have to write. So it is not off. It doesn't mean that automatically if there's a mortgage that whether the property is bad and you should not go ahead. And that's why you should just get a lawyer to review the situation and know what exactly to do. And that's why I talked about due diligence specific to each transaction. All right. I hope that is helpful. Any other question? So I hope this session has been helpful because I have a favor that I would want us to do. Oh yes, please. So this is a question from Modu. Okay. Okay, so I can see it now. Yeah. Is it for yes, it's for every property. So if you do for one property, that's 700,000. But of course, if you are doing a lot, if you're doing a lot, we could always work out something. But it's for one property. Hope that answers your question. Any more questions? All right, so you will see the link here in the comments in the slides so you can see the link. Yes, so I need a favor from all of us who has been a part of this session. I will still send us the link to book if you want to go ahead with our due diligence service. But I need us to quickly do something for me. So this webinar is sponsored by Charis Legal Practice. Of course, we are here today because Charis Legal Practice sponsored this webinar. And I would love to know if this webinar has been helpful for you. I will need you to do something for me. I will be dropping a link in the session. Miss Salome, I am not seeing you here. So I will drop a link now and I would love you to just take a second and post the and drop your review for this webinar. So can you do that for me? If you have questions, please feel free to type in your questions. I am just I want to drop the link for the reviews because I really need your reviews. This has been helpful to you, so I know that the least you can do that for me, isn't it? So post the just click the link. So I have posted the link here. Once you check, you can see yes, once you check the comment section here, you can see it. And in fact, I was hoping there was a way that I could know the people who were with us like from 5 p.m. and stayed until I started. I think I really owe you something. All right, yes. So please drop your review if this has been helpful. And if you're wondering, oh, Kaisega practice, yes, this has been so helpful. But I need to know what do your clients have to say. So let me show you some reviews from our clients. For some service delivery, I was able to do due diligence for my landed property and concluded my purchase. Yeah, so this is another one from our client who says, "Thank you for all you do." Barrister Tosin is a professional real estate lawyer who is not just in for the service but tries to understand the client's needs as a friend to understand to ensure they get the best. Yes, and that's it. At Charis Legal Practice, it's not just about offering a service; it's about you getting the best that you can get from our services. So, what's the best for you? That's what we are after. So, this is another one. Yes, I got the due diligence report and read through. It's very detailed, and that's it. Detailed, and it provided me with all the necessary information I needed. It's easy to understand. Easy. This is a review. Yes, the link has been posted, Mr. Aziz. Is in the comment section. You will see I posted it Google review. Let me copy and paste it again. So the link is here. Someone says they dropped the question. What question was that? Can you type it again? All right. So the link to the review is in the live chat. Okay. I think it's not comment section. I think it's called live chat. Sorry about that. Yes. So if you have any questions, please feel free. I will answer your questions. I can see Ayola, please. I dropped a question before. I can't see the question. So please, can you type it in again? I'll scroll through here and I can't see your question. You didn't type it. You didn't type it. So please type it in again. So yeah, so this is another review. Yeah, so in this instance, it was good to go. The transaction was good to go. So we also then went ahead to with the documentation. And then yes, so this is this is another review. Saved me 30 million. Yes, and these are the other services that we offer. So if you need legal advice, you need real estate and legal advice, you can book a consultation session with me to get the advice you need. And of course, I often have people who say, I really want to buy property, but I'm confused. I don't even know where to start. What should I do? And you need me to sit in a session with you. You can book the consultation session. And these are the services that we offer: comprehensive real estate documentation, application for C of all governors' consent. Please note, we do not offer dispute resolution. I've done enough of that. I've done enough of that. So we don't offer that service. And now we have a lot of resources on our website, charislegalpractice.com.ng. Let me just post that. I don't know, where are my team members? Are they sleeping? Because they're supposed to post this. Adewanle, if you are there, post the link to our website, although I will still send it to Ross. So post the link so that those who need our services, you can always, it's easy to work with me and my team. Just go to the website, check through, you will see all the services that we offer, and just fill in the form and we'll get across to you. We also have a lot of resources. Let me post resources. And those resources are very helpful. Recorded videos. I have recorded master classes. So I actually have a master class on land banking. If you want to go into the land banking, I urge you to yes, get that recorded class. And it's an instant class, so you can watch immediately. Oh, this is about us. So I'm supposed to post resources. Sorry about that. So feel free to go to our website. You will see a lot of resources that will help you. So someone said she had a question and she's not typed it in. So I guess maybe she is not asking the question again. So for those who will be watching the replay, feel free to type in your questions. I'll be glad to answer your questions. And of course, feel free, you should go ahead and drop a review if this session has been helpful to you. All right. So to work with us, click the link in the website in the description box for those who are watching after, and for those who are watching live, the link is in the comment section. We look forward to working with you. So I hope that from now on, you would go ahead and invest in real estate like a pro. You will not lose your money to scams and to bad real estate deals. And I wish us all the best, yes, in our endeavors. Thank you and good night.